Let's open up this segment with Ask Us Anything.
You know, I am a longtime listener of the podcast.
I know you are.
2011, actually, to date it. But yeah, I actually went out and asked my cohort of people for some questions for this podcast. And we got a bunch of them. I think these are really good, philosophical, thought-provoking questions, and I'm excited to get after them.
Oh, well, let's launch in.
All right, first one. You ready?
Yeah.
Ready? Okay. What does it mean to get a seat at the table versus expecting an invite?
So that's kind of a big or a big thought. Like when you think of the table, what are we really looking at? Are you talking about like within strength conditioning? Are you talking about within your family? Are you talking on a global scale? And I think that every person has to establish that for themselves. Like, what does it mean to be sitting at a table with your peers and considered to be, friends and family, or more importantly, an influential person that deserves to have a voice? When you actually just said it right now, two things came to mind. One was the program, our boy Latimer, seat at the table. What for those guys, they sat at different tables. Their starting defense sat at a table at meals. Their starting offense sat at a table at meals. So there was like a seat specific for him. So it was not only a metaphoric thing that he was, on the starting defense, but it was a physical seat at the table. And then the other thing is I've always been a fan of the Arthurian legends.
Knights of the Round Table?
Yeah, the Knights of the Round Table. The idea that we're going to create a big table, there's going to be no head, no foot, and that everybody's going to be equal at this round table. Now, obviously, we're at a rectangular table, and I'm sitting here at the head. But that's because, this works better in our, three-person configuration. But I think when I think about earning a seat at the table, it's being considered an equal, being a contributor to something that allows for people to better themselves. In terms of power athlete, somebody that contributes, somebody that can, teach and write and influence and speak and, just is a good ambassador and more importantly embodies what we hope to see here at Power Athlete.
My fast thinking, my immediate response was going back to when you're trying to find your foothold in your career. Internships, and you got to take a number of them. And the attitude was always you're going to do such a good job in your internship, you want to make it hard for them not to hire you. So that was always the mindset and the approach that I took to internships or opportunities. And, that place at the table would be even if they couldn't hire you, you left a lasting impression that then they were willing to make a call for you or be at the front. And we think of Donnie Mabe at University of Texas where football had a turnover of a coaching staff, and they bring their teams in, but now Donnie is a good friend, and he's able to, make connections for Power Athlete, recommend it, come hang out at Power Athlete. But he was in that position as a mentor of the interns at University of Texas, and now, he's still willing, and that's a representation of the place at the table. With that individual, while it may not be on a University of Texas staff, it's still within his community.
Well, yeah. The biggest thing, and I think what, the idea of earning a seat at the table is contribution. Like, what are you contributing to the greater good, to the cause? And it very well might be that you don't want to sit at anybody's table other than your own. And then you can do like my dad always joked about, don't ever hold your fan club meetings in a phone booth. So I think about like if you're sitting at your own table and nobody's at the table with you, is it really a table or are you just resting your legs, But I really think it comes down to very few things in this world are given to people. Even people that are, born into vast wealth and generational wealth, whatever, like there's still a responsibility to be able to extend and to be able to be a, contributing member of something. Very few times is anybody handed anything without, any friction or work or effort that just goes on and does amazing things. I think in my bathroom, I have one of the quotes, I think it's a Seneca quote that, you can't sharpen a blade without friction. You can't grow as a man without trials. You need trials and battles and fights and wins and losses to effectively sharpen your blade. That's the friction. So I think if you want to earn a seat, you have to go out and snatch it, steal it, fight for it, battle for it. Very few things are given. And if you're sitting at home waiting for the invitation, I think your phone's never going to ring.
I think, for me, when I hear asking for a seat at the table or earning a seat at the table, the first word that comes to mind is that community. And then what does it mean to be a part of that community? And John, you brought up a really good point there of what can you provide? How can you contribute? And that's the idea of being useful. Like, are you actually a useful member contributing to this community? And if you can't be, I don't think you deserve to even ask the question of, can I be a part of this community? Can I sit at your table as well?
Well, on that note, if you're looking, let's say there is a community and certain amount of skills that community needs. If I'm looking at Xanis and to be the most badass PT, and I'm just in line with his skills and waiting, okay, I'm going to be the next Xanis. I'm going to be the next Xanis. Why is nobody calling me? Versus, oh, here's a different skill. I see this as a need within said community. Why don't I fill that skill set or develop a new skill to then contribute?
And that's actually a really perfect example. John, I don't know if you remember during my Block 1 test, at the end, we were sitting it might have been this very table, and we were going through the review of the things that you liked, the things that I could work on, and all that. And it came down to the end, and I remember I was getting up out of the seat, and I told you that we were going to be doing really amazing, great things together.
Yeah.
Right? And it was in that moment, I think that was like the trajectory. That was me asking for my seat at the table in that moment. And I never stopped asking.
So I think that there's like kind of an interesting balance of like camaraderie, being able to fit within a group, being able, like not being a fucking pompous ass, being able to work well within teams. That's why, when we tend to hire people, we find that people that play team sports tend to work better in different environments, and especially in ours. So like that idea of like team sports, can I work in a group? Do I understand the general mission? Do I understand that camaraderie? Opposed from some other people when we've encountered where we've been like, man, that guy's probably could be a valuable piece, but like nobody wants to work with you. And so I think that that's a interesting thing, and I tell this to my daughters all the time, especially like for the school they go to. They work in a lot of small groups where it's like, you have to learn to work in groups. You have to prove yourself to be a valuable member of the team so that everybody wants to work with you. You can be the smartest person, but if you're insufferable and nobody wants to work with you, then you don't get ahead. And so I think that there's an interesting balance of like being able to work in groups, being supportive and being a leader, being able to bring a lot to the table, but also bring up the strengths of those around you. And at the end of the day, don't be a fucking douchebag.
Yeah, to comment on that and going back to my experience recruiting in college and then cutting kids at D3, small time, but at the same time, like we go looking at the big board and we can only hold 40 kids. Like, who's going to that kid's never going to play, but damn it, he's going to give his all during practice. He's going to be encouraging. He's going to create this science of the sidelines, as I call it, just posturing up. Like, kids come off encouraging in the huddle, and they just want to be a part, but not just wear the jersey. They want to be a part of the team. So that was always part of the conversation when we go to the whiteboard to erase the names in the fall.
I think that comes back to one of my favorite presentations from Summer Strong this year was Martin Rooney.
Oh, baby, yeah.
Right? Like, talk about an energetic presentation, delivery style, man. You were just engaged from the moment he started talking. He told the story of, coming out from track practice or track tryouts and getting cut, right? And then it was football practice and coming back and getting cut and the coach coming to him and saying, you'd be really great, you'd be amazing at track and field. So giving them that next option and showing that they're still valuable somewhere. Mm-hmm. And that could be that pivot moment, that transition piece for a lot of the kids.
Cool. Well, I think asked and answered.
Yeah.
Well,
thank you for introducing that topic, Matt.
Yeah, that was a good one. Thanks, Dr. Xanis.
Freight train and I'm right on track.